Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the feature news for today, that is for 13th of January 2022. Today's feature news is on a topic that is very pertinent, very relevant in the present context, the times of sustainable development. The theme is groundwater management and regulation. This is in news because the Comptroller and Auditor General has given a report on the present level of groundwater management in the country, right? So in this context we will understand what is the groundwater, what is the proportion of groundwater in the country, in the whole world. We will also understand what are the kind of various legislations that have been passed in the country for protection, what is the CAG's audit report, what are the recommendations in it, right? So let us, before moving ahead, let us quickly look at the various segments that have been discussed here in this particular feature news. Introduction and background to groundwater. Some basic concepts have been spoken about. For example, dynamic groundwater resources. For example, the concept of natural discharge. There's a beautiful image talking about how the water is replenished and what times in the country. We'll discuss this. The factors which govern the groundwater quality and quantity both, and which are the places which are getting affected the most, right? Remember the causes that you had explained. So these are the major causes and these are also the regional dimensions of it, right? So very good. And you people also in addition gave examples to me, so commendable effort there. What are the audit findings? The findings of the CAG, we'll understand the findings in four segments, 3 to 4 segments. We will also understand what are the regulations, how are they trying to ensure that groundwater it gets refurbished, sustained and managed. We will also understand some of the government initiatives in this regard. We will also understand the recommendations of CAG, right? So this is what constitutes a holistic article in totality, right? So let's begin this conversation. Before that, allow me to welcome all the participants here. Hi Shweta, good evening to you. Hi Amlan, good evening Hima, hi Asim, hi Kriti, hello Netra, hi Supriya, hi Babani, hello Ashish. All right, there was a question, no? Somebody had put a question, what is currency swap? Now, in terms of, now this is where it reminds me of Sri Lanka. I wanted to discuss Sri Lanka in details, but Asim had asked a question, just a quick understanding right now, but I will discuss this in details later. Now, Sri Lanka is one of the countries which is going through financial crisis, right? So one of the crisis is that of balance of payment, balance of payment. They do not have sufficient foreign exchange reserves only. Dollar is the currency in which most of the countries contain their keep their foreign exchanges, right? It is also weighed in terms of the gold that country has. Now, when Sri Lanka does not have sufficient foreign exchange, that means dollars, that means it is not being able to export more. If it exports more, then it will have some reserve currency, dollar. On the other hand, it is importing what? Importing innumerable kind of resources for the country in a lot of time in the past, because of which it has spent the reserve dollar currency that it had, right? It remains with only around 1.5 billion dollars, which is a very meager sum, right? Only for a couple of weeks for a country like Sri Lanka. They have had a huge dependence on imports. Look at the and Sri Lanka right now, the country blames corona pandemic for this. During this time the supply chain broke down. They used to export textiles, they used to export these spices and products. They used to export certain specific goods abroad, but all this did not happen. This is what is their alibi: corona pandemic, supply chain disruptions, lesser export. But there are wider issues to confront. For example, Sri Lanka went on with a very prolonged civil war. If you remember 2008 LTT, and then we had Prabhakaran, am I correct? So this war had a lot of it caused a lot of resource constraints in Sri Lanka. This is one of the reasons. There are many other reasons because of which Sri Lanka is facing this crisis. Then question was asked to me that sir, that and the credit rating of Sri Lanka has gone down to CC. I think this is the one, and this is one of the credit by this has been given by one of the international rating agencies. That was S&P Global, or it was another rating agency which had rated this. And just below this is the default. the whole country will default. Before this, they will have to take loan from some of the international agencies, and for taking loan they will have norms. These are the similar norms that India had to face during the time of 1991. India, on the other hand, does not as I was asked, right? India does not have these kind of credit rating for the country itself, right? The credit rating of India is around BBB. This is in the middle, and there are many other levels, 4 5 levels, after which they will come to this particular credit. India has got very very good forex reserves, $600 billion of foreign exchange reserves, and because of this, India is not going to face any problem like this anytime in future, right? Sri Lanka also has got deals with India, with China. We will discuss them. We will discuss them slowly. And in this, yes, somebody had asked me the question of currency swap. This is where some nations say that currency swap, and the other one is freezing of loans. So पहले जो लोन लिए थे, you freeze them. That means we do not ask them to repay the interest or the principal right now. Long term freezing of loans. Currency swap. If the payment was to be made in dollars, we will not make that payment in dollars, right? We will make it in our currency. This is one of the ways. The other way is, for example, if India and Sri Lanka were doing trade in dollars, they will say that you give me dollars, I will give you your currency back, or I will give you my currency back. So this is how currency swap is done. It will save Sri Lanka from these kind of financial issues. Why? Because many bonds are maturing with time. Bonds are maturing. That means Sri Lankan government had purchased bonds with time, and after these bonds are maturing, the government will have to pay this money in dollars to those authorities which had purchased these bonds from Sri Lanka, right? They will have to pay in dollars, and because of this, their foreign exchange will further get reduced, thus instigating another financial crisis in the country, right? Also, remember, Sri Lanka had instituted its organic farming, no, in the whole country, a huge failure, because of which lot of imports, lot of disruptions, and therefore this crisis. All right. S&P. Yes, Asim is correct. It was Fitch. Fitch. I will share the rating as well, the complete rating in another video, right? Ravi says India, Japan, 75 billion US dollars. Okay, all right. See, yes, India has provided soft loan, soft credit mechanisms to Sri Lanka. Uh, Pritika, yes, you had asked the question, so I hope it is clear. Hi, Pritika. Hi, Tiasha. Hello, Ravi. All right, so let's go ahead with this conversation. Today's feature news is on CAG report. All right, getting back to this main theme for today. Now, the proportion of water. See, water is around 70% of the earth, and 30% of the earth's area is covered with land. And amongst this 70% water everywhere, not a single drop to drink. Let me explain this to you. 97% of water is saline, right? Saline. 3% water only is the fresh water that humans can drink, potable. They can utilize them to cook their food, uh, indulge in agricultural activities, or clean their clothes with. Right, so 3% only freshwater reserves, and out of 3% freshwater reserves, 2% are locked in frozen ice caps. Less than 1% is available for at other places, and in this 1%, almost close to the whole proportion is the groundwater reserves, groundwater. And the surface water, for example, lakes, ponds, water in the atmosphere, this is very very meager quantity. So we utilize the surface water, and what do we do for groundwater? We extract it using technology, right? So we have technology to extract groundwater for say 150 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, 100 meters, right? 100, around approximately 3 feet is 1 meter approximately. So say 400 500 meter tak to we can go at max, right? Boring and all, right? Even lesser than this. But beyond this, we do not have those kind of equipments to be able to bore that deep, because if we bore them deep, we also need pipes to be introduced at a deeper level, right? So right now we are extracting groundwater, and because 1% resources are groundwater, and then we also have surface water, which is lesser in quality, lesser in quantity as well. Groundwater are more fresh. Surface water is easily polluted. right? So this is another factor, and it is easier to extract groundwater. We have to also map कहाँ से कितना extract करना है, right? So knowing that groundwater is also limited, it also gets recharged during the right times, and it also gets exploited. We have to understand that groundwater is also a critical resource for the country. Therefore, CAG has conducted this audit to understand the presence of groundwater in the country, what is its exploitation level, how it is to be regulated, managed, what are the different water action plans in the country. By the way, country is in the process of preparing its water policy. Its water policy, a draft water policy is going to get laid down, and then very soon they'll prepare a water policy. The last one was 2012 water policy. Water is a state subject administered by the states, and the center had passed a regulation, a model, bill for code of conduct for the states, and then it was again under scrutiny, so not followed properly. All right. Mm, all right. Hi, Pooja. All right. Yes, Pooja says for drinking purpose as well. Bilal says every country has SDR, special drawing rights, in WTO in form of general tranches and special credit. And why Sri Lanka failed to get pandemic influenza preparedness funding. All right. I am not aware why Sri Lanka has not been able to get back its proportion of SDR right now. Not aware of it. All right. CAG report. So this report speaks about the its reviews of the present level of groundwater, and also gives some certain recommendations. But before we get into that, let me explain to you that groundwater is also of two kinds. One is that is available just below the surface, and the other one is deeper, which cannot be exploited right now. Right. So groundwater gets replenished every time in the seasons of rainfall. Right. So aquifers are those places where we have those kind of rocks from where water permeates below the level, and then it stores, the water is stored at a specific place. So these are the reserves, right? And if we drill through them, the pressure, see, suppose there is a pond here, suppose that this is a surface level and there's a pond here and there is a mountain here, and from all the places the aquifer, the whole place is getting water recharged here, right? So if we drill a hole here, right, a duct here, this duct might ensure that water comes out of it even without external pressure, and this is what is called as artesian well, right? Artesian wells do exist at many places. There are natural springs which come up because of this kind of water pressure, and this is very, very pure water, right? But there are other places where water is extracted by humans. This recharge of water happens in four different ways, right? Four different ways. We can segregate it according to one of the reports by the government itself. One is through rainfall during monsoon season. See, around 60% or more than 50% of water recharge is happening through rainfall in the monsoon season, and in monsoon season through other means also, right? Other means apart from direct monsoon, right, there is recharge of water at around maybe 20% levels, and rest of the 30% is happening in the non-monsoon period, non-rainfall period, whether through rainfall or through other means. So you see around 70% of recharge is happening in the rainy season or the monsoon season. This is important to understand, but you will be surprised to know that there are places where the exploitation of water is happening more than the recharge of water. There are 8 states where this is happening, and this is causing water stress in those places. The water table has naturally decreased at those places, right? So uh, what is the meaning of natural discharge? See, uh, when water flows, right, there is a natural discharge of water. That means the water will eventually end up in some or the other sea or water body. So this is the natural discharge which cannot be stopped. But India's annual replenishable groundwater resource is around 432 billion cubic meter, which is a decent proportion, very decent proportion, right? So this is the particular parameter on which we are going to understand the groundwater resources availability. And this is not uniform as well. This is segregated over space and time. Rainy season, non-rainy season, regional variations are different. Let's understand that quickly. So the regional variation in water availability is different at various places. For example, as I mentioned that the surface water is lesser, right, in resources. So surface water कहाँ से आएगा? Canal से आएगा, river से आएगा, right? But then if we have tube wells, if we have submersible pumps, these are more efficient. बस diesel government subsidize करेगी, right? Not now, but earlier. Then electricity, no issue. Water, कितना भी निकाल लो, right? So because of this, this has caused problems of salinity in agricultural areas, especially in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. So power subsidy is one of the reasons that leads to the reduction in quantity of water in Punjab, Haryana, Jharkhand, Gujarat, Rajasthan. Look at those particular states where Green Revolution 1 had happened. Andhra Pradesh also it had happened. Gujarat, some places. Haryana, Punjab, at some places. Those plain areas. See, some of them are plain areas here, right, where agriculture can be followed. And mind you, agriculture consumes around 85% of freshwater resources. Rest of it is consumed between industry, municipal usage, and personal usage, home household usage. Rest of it, right? Out of which the municipal usage is higher. 85% in agricultural fields only. Paddy में एकदम बहा दिया पानी, sugar cane में डाल दिया पानी, right? Rice, many other crops, dryland crops we do not cultivate, we cultivate them. So we need more water use efficiency. Remember the places. If you can draw a map, along with that, write power subsidy in those places. Cultivation of water intensive crops at certain specific places, right, West Bengal, Haryana, West Bengal and Assam, rice is one of the crops, right, paddy. Urbanization and population growth in Gujarat and Delhi. See, Delhi is almost urbanized. Gujarat is almost 50% urbanized. You see a place like Bihar, only 10% urbanized. So when their place is urban, they will try to extract more water for uses in urban areas. That is why urbanization and population growth is using huge amount of water in places like Delhi. Right. Yesterday only, you people had questioned ki why are states like Karnataka and Bangalore, they are not implementing the water recharge facilities. Yes, it is mandated, but they are not implementing it properly, right? So it must be implemented everywhere in every city. Or not only not only harvesting of water, but one has to have the rooftop water harvesting facilities along with solar rooftops, rooftop harvesting facilities, and water recharge pits at homes. Every home could have these water pits where they can, contain the water that was taken in the monsoon season. 70% of water, if you saw, they can take in here, and they can utilize it, pump it out, and utilize in off season period. This is the mandate of many municipal corporations, right? Rainfall deficit in places like Tamil Nadu and Delhi, right? Tamil Nadu, you know why? Rain shadow area. It gets rainfall in northeast monsoon season. I hope that you are aware of this part, right? Extensive use of water irrigation industry in certain areas, specific areas like Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, right? So this is the quantity of water that we are talking of, which has been exploited. And quality of water. See, there is saline water intrusion, right? Sea water intrusion at various places. For example, Gujarat, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu. So the regression of fresh water or intrusion of the saline water in those fresh areas, right? Mixing of fresh water and saline water at certain places. Kerala mein bhi hoga, right? Agricultural activities, right? So water quality gets affected. How? Salinity, right? It is one of the major factors. So Punjab, Rajasthan, Telangana, yahan par, these are the places where we have seen more of flooding of fields. Kerala as well. There is a complete district in Kerala which is where increased salinity has happened and people have moved out. This is in news, right? I had read it in Down to Earth. So these are the places because of which people are moving out of those areas, or because of lesser efficiency, or saline resistant varieties are being cultivated, or we are trying to cultivate various other crops, or increasing the soil quality there. So agricultural activities causing distress in the quality of water. Industrial effluents, right? So look at the places where industrialization is happening, and those places the quality of water is getting affected. Sewage disposal and other contaminants, right? Industrial areas, sewage disposal and other contaminants. See, if we dig down deeper than a specific level, then it also results in other kind of pollution. For example, arsenic. Then we have other pollution like uranium pollution. They also happen well when deeper bore wells are dug at certain places. All right. So these are the causes that lead to it. So what are the findings? Uh, all right. We have got a couple of questions here. Pritika says, "Sir, but these areas are rain-fed areas. Main problem is climate change, right?" See, even if the area is not rain-fed, it is irrigated, right? Assured irrigation is there through many means. What are the means? The means are the surface water or groundwater. So when you see groundwater is another source, this is what we're talking, no? Over exploitation of the groundwaters in these areas, irrigated areas. So effectively, both the causes are there. Climate change is definitely a cause which is causing decrease in the rainfall at certain places. But there are places where there is increase in rainfall. What about that place? Even if there is increase in rainfall, you see, if this is an urban area, you can point out at factors like concretization of the urban areas. Concrete jungles are being created so that water recharge nahi hoga, water runoff will happen. These are the keywords that you should talk about, right? Water recharge or seepage of water will not happen, the runoff will happen. Not only that, you can also use words like contamination of water because of urban effluents in urban areas, right? So the first rain in urban areas, it is said now that it doesn't contain very good water. You know why? Because in the air we have a lot of pollutants and they mix with the water and doesn't cause a good quality of water being replenished. All right. So, what does the CAG say about it? See, there are some technical words CAG has used, and they talk of the stage of groundwater extraction. What is stage of groundwater extraction? Stage of groundwater extraction is the proportion of the water extraction to that of the water replenishment, right? So the percentage of water utilization of groundwater with respect to its recharge, kitna nikala, how much we withdrew as compared to how much rainfall or other sources, it ensured that the water get replenished. If the ratio is more, it is dangerous. Am I correct? If the ratio is more, if the ratio of utilization of groundwater to its recharge is more, then it is dangerous. And if it is less, it is good. And you will be, India has tried to maintain this as 70. कि 30 तो हमेशा we will keep replenishing the water. But there are as many as 8 states, four states, yes, 4 states where replenishment, where this proportion is more than 100. That means in Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, all water deficit areas that that Pritika has mentioned, right? All water deficit areas because of lesser rainfall. But here, these places, we also see more of water extraction. Why? Urbanization. Why? Because agricultural activities are following unsustainable practices, right? These are the factors. Climate change can be blamed to a certain extent. Rest of the blame will be taken by agriculture sector, by the utilization of water in those areas or those ways which are not sustainable, right? Okay. So Spider-Man says water harvesting is there in Tamil Nadu, but this has also led to flooding during retreating monsoon season. Yes. Why? It leads to flooding even despite water harvesting. This is because of faulty creation of the stormwater drainages at places. Stormwater drainages. What happens is that excessive water flows through the storm water. Do you know what is storm water drainage? It is placed towards the end of the road, and they are flooded with water, and the water gushes out to fields and other places which are low lying, and low lying areas are where the construction has happened. So this water which is getting into the storm hole or storm water, this can actually be used to recharge pits. It can be used to recharge the lands. And right now, Places do not have these integrated mechanisms. This is one of the causes for flooding. This is one of the causes. There are many other causes. We have covered this in urban deluge. If you look at the feature news, we have covered this completely, right? So urban planning, assessment of the risk, hazard mapping, that is not complete in those areas. So in India, there are certain places, around 70%. There are places which have stage of groundwater extraction. Use this keyword, stage of groundwater extraction. Around 70% of the places are in the safe category. That means there, if extraction of water is happening, it is still fine because we are replenishing around 30% of water. We also have around 20% places which are in the semi-critical stage. That means here water extraction is high. What are the reasons? The same reasons, quality and quantity. You will be able to look at, which I had explained. And some places are there, few districts which where this is overexploited, which should not have happened, right? The states where there's excessive water stress are Haryana, Delhi, Rajasthan, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh. See, uh, critically and overexploited areas. See, this is the proportion of these places. So this is not sustainable at all. And what are the reasons? You will present the reasons in these specific places. For example, irrigation, industrial usage, urbanization, water intensive crops, power subsidy. These are the factors, right? Map आता है, map बनाओगे साथ में. Okay. So remember the keyword, stage of extraction of water, utilization in proportion to the recharge. India had said 70% we will keep at ideal, right? There are many states which are maintaining, around the average is around 63, but there are states which are more than 70%. There are states with 100% as well, right? More than 100%. In fact, there are districts with 400% of the utility of groundwater, stages of extraction of groundwater. So this is very, very untenable for a country like India, right? So this is what is the analysis of the report. Let us quickly look at the analysis. The first one, it says that India utilizes this water 89% in agricultural areas, remaining in domestic industrial purpose. This is the first assessment of the CAG report, right? How will you use this? Just write down 89% agriculture, 11% domestic, industrial, municipal usage, CAG report, right? The second one is of the stage of extraction, where we talk of these areas, right? These areas, around 70% areas in safe category, but 30% areas in critical and semi-critical areas, right? And we also explain what is stages of extraction. So this is how we understand the CAG report, right? So how do we manage groundwater? There have been groundwater legislations, as I explained, the model one. We also had the water policy of 2012. They spoke of whatever you're speaking of, whatever you're speaking of. For example, the water recharge, right? Reduction of those varieties which consume huge amount of water. So there have been various ways in which they have tried to encourage the sustainable policies, but they have not been implemented well, right? A model bill was also passed by the central government, the state governments, aisa karo aap, but they have not been able to follow. This was also under review, because was which it has been not very, very effective, right? So having said this, we are also in the position of creating a national water policy again, right? Again, so this is the update from right now. There are places which have not utilized the funds for groundwater utilization, right? India was running a scheme called as Atal Bhujal Yojana, right? Bhujal, right? Groundwater Jal Yojana. So this was to ensure that the groundwater resources be utilized in a very proper manner, central sector scheme, along with funding from World Bank. Along with that, if you remember, we also have the Swajal scheme. Swajal scheme, right? So this is for utility of potable water in village areas, to be done by crowdsourcing of funds, central, state government, and local funds also to be utilized. This is for drinking water in the rural areas. And then you have also mentioned Sustainable Development Goal 6. Absolutely, wash water and water, sanitation, and hygiene, right? So sustainable goal, development goal 6. We also have another sustainable development goal, I think that number is 15. We are talking about life underwater, but we will not talk about this SDG right now. We will talk about SDG 6. Absolutely correct. Thank you for mentioning, Somik. So Somik has a question. What are we doing to provide safe drinking potable water to people? In rural areas, we are running these kind of schemes like Swajal. In urban areas, municipal corporations have got the mandate to ensure 100% tapped supply of water to all places. Tapped water supply to all places in urban areas, 100%. This is the mandate in rural areas also. Women do not have to go that far to fetch water. This is a social sector initiative, not only initiative for rejuvenation of the water bodies. This is social sector initiative. It was asked in UPSC, the relation between climate water crisis and females. Females are the sufferers, worst sufferers of this, especially female girl child, right? So one of the reports just a few days back, it came and it said that around 80% of these companies, right, I don't know the names, but example there are Bisleri hai, then Himalaya, all these water companies, no, around 80% of these companies, they had taken an approval from BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, कि we will install these water facilities, but they had not taken approval from the central ground water authority, right? They had not taken the approval ki they will be extracting water. So the approvals in urban areas, one has to take approval for industrial activities for water extraction. An approval not granted, that means you cannot carry out this. But see, 80% of these companies were carrying out these activities approved by BIS, but not approved by NOC from Central Groundwater Water Authority. So this is the condition in a country like India, right? In urban areas, we also cannot. In many municipal urban areas, we are also not allowed to extract groundwater without permission of the government. So execution is not happening properly. There have been budget estimates, but it has not been utilized properly because there is something called as aquifer mapping. कहाँ पर how much water is available, कहाँ पर से how much we can exploit, the proportion of aquifer, if it is high, these are the areas that can be utilized for higher water extraction to balance it out. But it has not happened completely right now, right? So you can utilize, these are the points from the CAG, not me talking, right? All right. So this is the update from here. The recommendations of CAG. The recommendations of CAG are something like this. First of all, revise this model bill so that it may be made implementable. Revise the model bill, or you can mention that एक model bill होना चाहिए. There should be a model bill so that it can be replicated by all the state governments, right? Not only that, develop effective coordination with various other agencies granting consents to projects. See, there are many authorities. जहाँ पर गंगा है तो नेशनल, वहाँ पर गंगा वाटर अथॉरिटी है, एंड देन वी ऑल्सो हैव द म्यूनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशंस, वी ऑल्सो हैव जल बोर्ड्स, वी ऑल्सो हैव local authorities for cleaning the area. So there are multiple authorities. They all must confide, they all must have consensus in building the water resources. Not only that, expeditious completion of aquifer mapping. See, aquifer mapping. Why not put the hazard proneness of that area? So what are the hazards that we're talking of? We're talking of natural disasters, right? Because if natural disasters are high, water availability requirement will be high. Along with that, we also should map the risk of disaster proneness to other places, right? Atal Bhujal Yojana, this was initiated, and progress is only marginal, right? So this is how we understand the mandate of Sustainable Development Goal 6, right? Availability of potable water, sanitation for all persons, and how the government is trying its level best, not completely, right? So let us quickly understand what we studied here. We studied the groundwater resources, the proportion, first of all, the magnitude of groundwater resources in the whole world, right? So this is around 1%, rest of 2% is ice caps, these are the fresh water, rest of it 97 is the saline water, right? We also understood the way groundwater recharge happens. It happens largely in the rainy season, 70% of it, rest of it in the non-rainy season. So therefore, we must wait for a season like this, especially in a country like India, because rainfall happens largely only in 4 months, largely in 4 months in a country like India. And we must utilize these 4 months to save water. Not only that, we also understood the concept of water utility, where the utility of water in proportion to the recharge, right? Tell me the keyword. The utility of water in proportion to the recharge. That keyword forms the key of understanding the various regional analysis of India, right? So this is the key. We also understood the qualitative and quantitative aspects of water, right? Qualitative and quantitative aspects of water exploitation in the country. After that, we understood the recommendations of CAG. We also understood the main points conveyed by CAG in his report. So points conveyed and recommendations. And this is how we cover this complete article, right? The question for today is groundwater management and regulation in India needs to be re-looked into. Elaborate on the basis of latest CAG report on groundwater management. See, the groundwater management and regulation in India needs to be re-looked into. When we talk of, the first sentence, do not think that first sentence is futile. The question is only on elaboration. You need to serve the first sentence also in building context to the answer, and then get on to the second sentence, elaborating on the basic of the latest CSG report. So what do you mention? You mention the key points of the report, you mention the recommendations of the report, you also mention those excerpts, for example the kind of water availability around the whole country, the season. These are the places where you will be able to draw the map. And let me see if you people have mentioned that keyword. No, you none of you have mentioned that keyword. What was that keyword I was looking for? Utility of water to its utilization. Utilization of water to its proportion of recharge. What was that keyword? Anybody? So this is how we complete this article. The article is fresh in your minds. You remember many of the things that are mentioned here. That is why I request you to completely, cover all the key points. It's hot in your mind. Please note the keywords right down right now. Right. So this is how we complete the feature news for today. And I will remember to serve the questions that you have asked, right? More questions, please put them down again here. Very interesting feature news for today on the groundwater management and regulation, right? CAG report. All right. So there are questions. Yes, stage of extraction. Absolutely, Spider-Man. Please do remember that stages of extraction. So the questions, please put them down. There are other things to convey. Please, most welcome. We will stages of groundwater extraction. Absolutely, Kriti. Thank you. So we will meet all of you tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Interesting discussions to follow again tomorrow. It's great to see that you people have started to think or read other people's comments, and this ecosystem is great. What we are doing right now is great. Keep doing this and you will see wonderful changes happening in yourself, right? So earlier I used to think that the first 5-10 minutes, you know I had to ensure that you people lose the inertia, and now you have lost it. Great, now you are in the inertia of motion. uh, पूरा दिमाग आपका गर्म है. So we will see you tomorrow, right? Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Babani. Thank you, Kriti. Thank you, Amlan. Thank you, Tiasha, Spider-Man, Netra. All right, great, everybody. If you like this initiative, do share some love through likes, comments, and shares. You subscribe to the channel, you will be able to receive updates of many other interesting videos. We are also planning to do the live videos for geography and other subject analysis during the weekend, because this weekend will be the examination for optionals: geography, political science, and international relations, and other subjects as well. All right. So enjoy the discussions. We will see you tomorrow evening. All right. Good evening, Ashish. Good night, Hima. Thank you, everybody. Questions, please put them down. Thank you.